Hello and welcome to It Was a Square, where we're going to talk about...
Star Wars.
Yeah, it's been Star Wars Day. Also, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. Happy birthday
To you.
to anyone whose birthday it happens to be.
Which is
Yeah,
Sean's.
it's mine. Thank you for all the happy birthday wishes. Anyway, Star Wars. I grew up watching Star Wars, loving Star Wars. Episode 1, 2, and 3 came out when I was very young, and I remember liking them. I remember we had episode 2 on DVD, and as like a regular kid, I'd watch it, I don't know, once every 3 months or so. So pretty often. And there was one time where I watched it where I was like, this movie is terrible and boring. And then I skipped to the ending fight scene with all the little creatures. That's still cool. And then episode 3 came out later that year, I'm pretty sure. Not the year that it came out, but the year that we got on DVD. And I remember liking episode 3 a lot more. Episode 4, 5, and 6, like, that was my whole childhood. Episode 5 is my favorite Star Wars movie. I've seen it 100 times. And then when they announced episode 7, 8, and 9, I was very for it. I think episode 7 came out in 2014. It was fine. I remember thinking it was alright. And you saw that one.
Kind of.
Mhm.
I've seen bits and pieces of Star Wars. When I would go over to like cousin's house, they would be watching it, and I would just get like little bits here and there. But I just wasn't like interested in that kind of stuff, and
Yeah.
I don't have like there weren't older siblings in the house to like get me into it. And anyway, so
And your parents weren't into it, I assume.
yeah, super not. But then
They were alive for it when it was the biggest movie of all time.
Yep.
Interesting. They're
not into like space stuff.
Yeah, nobody was until that movie came out, and they're like, oh, no, space is pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm not really into space stuff
Mm.
either, but I've seen a couple
Guardians?
episodes here and there,
Mhm.
like on dates and stuff.
Yeah,
But
it's funny,
it
like, explaining episodes 7, 8, and 9. Like, yeah, so these came out, like 30 years after episode 4, 5, and 6, which came out in the 70s, which was also like 40 years ago. 50 years ago. But it was the late 70s. And episode 1, 2, and 3 are like 80 years before this, and like 40 years from the end of the sixth one, and they came out in the early noughts. So, like, explaining it to someone who has not really any grasp on it, it's complicated. Like, just the movies coming out,
Yeah.
it's complicated.
and the people that I know who like really like Star Wars, when
Yeah.
they talk about it, they talk about all these theories and all this stuff, and it just seems so overwhelming.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just like I'm too far behind to get to anybody else's level, so I'm just gonna be over here.
And episode 7 is the worst one when it comes to that. Like, J.J. Abrams loves to put out a little, like, tantalizing taste and then not giving you a full answer and leaving it for filmmakers later on. So I remember talking with my brother about who could be Rey's parents for days after we watched episode 7. And that was only, like, one thing. Like, who was that old guy in the beginning? Who was Snoke? Like, all of these things were stuff that we talked about. And, like, I talked to my friends about it. I talked to my parents, talked to my brother. Like, that was all anybody talked about after, what was that, like, December of 2014. So the one that you watched, like, that was the one that, like, made all these theories happen. But the one that we watched on, technically the 5th, we didn't even finish it because we were old and we had to go to bed, was episode 8. Also, shout out to Movies in Minutes, a YouTube channel that we watched for Brooke's benefit so that she could have a refresher of episode 7 because she hadn't seen it since.
2017.
Oh, okay, you watched it later then.
Yeah.
Okay.
The only thing I remember happening, literally, he showed me that thing, and I was like, I am shocked that I've seen this movie.
Yeah.
Because everything looked new. The only thing I remember was that
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, that Han Solo died. And obviously I've heard Han Solo, and that happened, and I just remember thinking, I feel like that was a big deal.
Yeah.
And it was. So.
It was, yeah. We watched episode 8, The Last Jedi. And I think it is a very divisive film. You either love it or you hate it. And I love it. It's as good as episode 5 for me. Maybe a little worse technically, but I've seen episode 5 100 times. And I've seen episode 8, I think, 4 times. So one's a bit newer and fresher and a bit more exciting than the other one. So the reason people hate episode 8, I don't want to speak broadly. You can like or dislike a movie. It's up to you. again, like I don't care. But a big reason people hate it is because all of those tantalizing little things that J.J. Abrams set up for in Episode 7 to be resolved in Episode 8 and 9, Ryan Johnson, the director of Episode 8, just put a kibosh to and cut them all out. Who are your parents, Ray? They're nobody. They sold you for their meal. Who's Snoke? Who cares? He's dead. Move on. Like all of these things completely put aside, and I personally love that. I thought it was, what was it called? Like, they subvert your expectations, and I think that's become a little more common now, and it's a little annoying at this point. But when I watched this in 2018, I loved it.
Yeah, and not really knowing what Sean just said going into it, I thought it was really good. Again, I'm by no means a hardcore like Star Wars fan, but I liked what I saw
Mm-hmm. At one point, you called it Star Trek.
on accident.
Yeah, it is funny.
My favorite part, the little animals are really good.
Yeah,
The porgs and the
little crystal critters.
Yeah.
I don't think they have a name. Well,
and,
they do probably, but
and the things that they ride. Anyways, great animals.
yeah, Star Wars is. I also think Episode 8 has one of the coolest scenes in all of Star Wars, just visually, where I forgot her name, the woman who takes over after Leia gets incapacitated with the purple hair. All of her friends are dying. She's super distraught, so she turns the ship around, and they're like, oh, she's preparing to jump to hyperspeed, and they're like, oh, disregard her, like she's trying to distract us. And then she just turns the ship, and they're all like, oh no. And it's so cool. And I know, like, there's a lot of people say, like, oh, why don't they just do that all the time? Like, it is a little world breaking in that sense that it's so powerful. Why didn't they ever do that? But who cares? It's so. All those other ships get destroyed. Oh. Yeah, I remember in the theater, as soon as it was revealed that he was a ghost, I felt so stupid. I was like, literally the whole movie, they've been showing that they can like force project themselves across the galaxy, and his hair was different. He had the lightsaber we just saw got exploded into two.
When he steps,
Yeah.
the like salt didn't move.
Yeah, Kylo Ren shifts his feet. There's red underneath. Immediately after, Luke shifts his feet. No change at all. There's literally
He's
no
blasted
way.
by a million lasers that he's fighting.
Like, they could not have spelled it out more, but when it happened, like, I was like, oh my gosh, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. I know a lot of people are upset with Luke's whole storyline. Like, he's meant to be the guy, and he's lost faith in himself. But I love that. Like, yeah, your heroes don't always do the most heroic thing. And that's great. Like, it shows Luke is a real character more than he is the hero, in air quotes.
Yeah, I will say that is the only scene I didn't really like, is when he's like showing Rey his like hermit lifestyle
Oh, yeah,
on
he's
the
just wandering
island.
around the
It's just
island.
weird.
Yeah,
He like gets that
green milk.
Yeah. Gross.
Yeah, it's pretty gross. Drinks it immediately.
Yeah. Anyways, that was weird.
Was weird. My least favorite part of the movie. I love the movie, but it definitely has its faults. And chief among them is the casino planet. I love Rose. Finn, I never really liked in Episode 7, but I think he does a lot better in Episode 8. Like, he has a thing that he's going for. He's just interesting. That being said, the casino planet was lame and boring. And the plot issue I have with it is that they contact like Maz Kanata, who's like this really smart person who knows everybody in the galaxy, and they ask, "We need this to be done. Do you know anybody?" And she's like, "I know literally only one person, the Master Codebreaker." And they go to this casino planet. They find him. They're about to go to him, and then they get put in jail. And in jail, seemingly a completely empty jail, they get put with this one guy that also is a Master Codebreaker. And I just thought, yeah. In the theaters, I thought that was awful and terrible. But it's forgivable.
Yeah. It was funny because that guy,
Yeah.
as the movie goes on, I was like, oh, I like him.
Yeah, he
And then
takes her
literally,
necklace and then gives it back, and you're like, you know what? He's a good guy. I like that guy.
yeah. And then the next scene, he's a sellout.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, well, never mind. The other scene I liked was when Ben Solo or Kylo Ren,
Yeah.
whatever, kills Snoke.
So good.
Yeah.
That's a fantastic fight scene.
Mm-hmm.
And the Royal Red Guard.
Yeah, they're so cool.
Yeah, they are. They've been in. I'm not sure how many. They're in episode 3. They're in episode 5 and 6. But you never see them do anything until this one, and they're so like worth the wait. So cool.
Yeah, I just like their matte red.
Yeah, and they have like lightsaber resistant armor.
Yeah.
Like doesn't do them a lot of good, but like does them better than a lot of other say stormtroopers, for instance.
Yeah.
Might as well be wearing tissue paper. But yeah, they're so cool.
Great scene.
Mm-hmm. And like the tapestry starts to burn around. It's just so cinematic and so cool and framed so well.
And the two are working together.
Yeah, I love Adam Driver and I love Kylo Ren. I think when he's just so compelling. Like he's good. He's fine in episode 7. He's really good when he starts to turn and you buy it and you believe it. And when Rey kind of turns her back on him and he loses it. Like he gets so unstable at the end of this episode 8. And I buy that completely. I love it. Love Kylo Ren. So when they're teaming up, and I'm like, oh, he's good now. I thought at the time. I was so... And he's taking on like 4 because he's like super well trained. And she's taking on 1 because she's pretty much new to all this. Good stuff.
I just like how Snoke dies.
Yeah, Snoke is worse.
Like,
It's got like a weird jaw thing.
yeah, he gave me like Voldemort vibes.
Yeah.
With his face, but yeah, it's just like I can feel him like turning.
The lightsaber onto his true enemy.
Him.
Yeah. So overall, episode 8.
It was good. I feel like that was a good. I'll call that my true introduction to Star Wars because I feel like it was a good introduction, and I would be willing to like watch more.
You heard it here. Sadly, the episode immediately after, I think, is not controversial. Just everybody really hates it. Except for my parents, weirdly. They're wrong, though. Like, it's not very good. But you can like what you like. I don't care. I think this is a great time to move into, I guess, our next topic. Before I do, I will say, we love doing this podcast. My wife just bought me a microphone and like a soundboard for the podcast. I'm very excited to use them all. So to help us along, please like subscribe on whatever medium you're using, like YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, whatever it is you're doing. Please subscribe. We'd super appreciate it. Like the video if you're on YouTube. Leave a review if you're on iTunes. And no matter what you're watching on, tell a friend. And we'd appreciate it so much. We would love to grow our little channel. All right, let's talk Dungeons and Dragons. Just a little bit. I thought it'd be a really fun idea to play a game on the podcast. Maybe we can make it like a regular thing, not necessarily Dungeons and Dragons, but just playing a game. And we're pretty restricted to audio things right now. And I think Dungeons and Dragons it lends itself well to an audio format. So we live in a college town, and I'm part of like a Dungeons and Dragons Facebook group. I joined it recently. And on it, I was like, hey, we have a podcast. Would anybody be interested in helping us out and being our DM? And we got a few people who contacted us. We held auditions, and then we're paying this guy. I call it like a thank you salary. His name is Ryan Beatty. Very cool, very fun. We've recorded 1 session so far. I think I'm gonna like pull them up and release them in like one go, more or less. But yeah, I've had a lot of fun.
Yeah, Sean said that that's what he wanted for his birthday. And I was like, okay, fair enough. And I thought it would be like a couple hours. We would play this game
Once a week for 2 hours
for 7 weeks.
for 7 weeks.
And when they like told that to me, my mouth literally dropped open, and I thought, this is not what I signed up for.
But
But it was fun. Yeah, super over my head. And, like, I'm so glad Ryan's there.
Yeah.
To, like...
He's great.
Yeah, he's really awesome. And so, yeah, it's not... I was pretty much dreading doing it. And it's pretty fun. So,
Yeah.
I'm no longer dreading it.
Yeah. When we first started, Brooke was playing it so seriously.
Yeah, I didn't know what to... Like, my exposure to Dungeons and Dragons is Stranger Things.
So not really at all.
Yeah. And he starts with me, and so I think, okay, like, we are acting, like,
Yeah.
And then he turns to Sean, and Sean's just super chill and...
Joking around.
Yeah, and I thought, okay,
yeah,
this is way more relaxed than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. Really fun. Neither of us had ever played before, but I'm, like, pretty aware of it. And I think it's going to turn out great. The first session was a lot of fun, and I hope it continues to be so. Okay, now we're going to talk about My Fair Lady.
Classic combination of Star Wars and My Fair Lady.
Yeah. So why did you choose this?
I haven't picked up on it. I really like older movies. My parents are older, so I grew up watching...
They're older than you?
I grew up watching the classics.
She did not deign to respond to my stupid joke. Well, she did roll her eyes for the audience at home.
I never mean to. That's a fun story. When I was little, my dad and my parents and I would always fight. Not always fight, but like
Teenager.
Yeah, when we would get in no, I was young.
Oh.
I've been rolling my eyes since the moment I came to Earth, I think.
You're doing it right now.
No. My dad would always be like, "Don't roll your eyes at me," and I would say, "I'm not rolling my eyes," because I really didn't think I was rolling my eyes. And then I married Sean, and he was like, "You roll your eyes all the time."
Yeah.
So
it's really hurtful.
I apparently just roll my eyes all the time, and I don't mean to.
Yeah.
But I do, so that's fun for me. Probably everyone hates me.
No.
But yeah, I have been told always that, like, what's the phrase? Like, you wear your feelings
on your sleeve.
Yeah, or something like that.
Yeah.
Basically,
you wear your heart on your sleeve.
No, not that.
Wear your feelings on your face.
Yeah, it's like something with a book.
You write your feelings in a book.
Which is your face. Anyways, I don't know.
Harry Potter.
Yeah. Basically, you can just always tell how I feel, which sometimes is good and most of the time is pretty bad.
If you know the saying, let us know. Email us.
Yeah.
It was a square at Gmail, or comment on the video. Do whatever you need to do.
I know what it is. I just can't think of it right now.
Oh, sure you do. Blah, blah, blah.
No.
I rolled my eyes that time. Okay.
Anyway, so My Fair Lady. One of my first memories is watching this movie. My mom had a little VHS TV that she had in her room, and this is before I was in school. She would iron. I think it was every Monday or Tuesday was her ironing day, and because she's a classic lady. And anyway, so my mom does not watch TV really.
She watches game shows.
Now she does, but
at the time.
Yeah, that's a new thing.
Oh.
That's since I've been gone.
Since you've been gone.
Yeah. So she would watch whatever we had on VHS while she ironed, and then I would obviously just be in my room with my mom. And we had My Fair Lady, and it stars Audrey Hepburn,
mm-hmm.
who I also love.
I need to write that down because I've been so tempted to say Anne Hathaway every time I try to say her name.
No, Audrey Hepburn. Yeah, I love Audrey Hepburn. She is a wonderful woman inside and out. And
very cool, actual real life story.
Yeah.
Which is neat.
Yeah, and just a legit, phenomenal human being.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But
definite highlight of this movie.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You rolled your eyes. I'm gonna point it out.
Did I really?
Just this episode, yeah.
Oh my gosh. See what I mean?
You did it again.
No!
You did.
Okay, yeah. No idea. So sorry.
That's 2 so far.
You
We're gonna
can
keep a tally.
Alright. Wow. Surprised I haven't been fired. Or kicked out of school.
Yeah. I don't know. Have you ever rolled your eyes at someone in real authority?
Probably. I just rolled my eyes twice for no reason.
Yeah.
Alright, cool. Cool. Anyway, so I just remember like being in that room like with my mom while she ironed, and we would watch My Fair Lady. And I love musicals.
It
It has some
has, yeah,
bangers.
it has some great songs and it has some fine songs.
Oh yeah, every musical.
Yeah. There's one in particular that I did not like, and it went on for way too long.
But yeah, so I saw that it was on Netflix a couple weeks ago, and I thought, and it's my favorite Audrey Hepburn movie. I think.
Yeah.
It's not the ones that she's like most known for, but I thought that this was the best introduction to an Audrey Hepburn movie for Sean.
It was good. Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen an Audrey Hepburn movie. If I did, like, I didn't recognize that it was her. I was too young.
Yeah, I would be surprised. I think she's most famous for, or most well known for Breakfast at Tiffany's, and I like that one, and I understand why it's a classic. But also, I think it's kind of weird. I don't know. I just feel like you would rip it apart. So, My Fair Lady was good.
Yeah.
And it was really really fun to watch as an adult and kind of remember little things and
I do have a question. Is it like aimed at? Is it a children's movie? Was it aimed at kids?
no.
Okay, because I think watching this as a child, it would be nonsense.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
There's one scene in particular where she goes to ask Henry Higgins for his help to teach her how to speak properly. It's just all over. Everybody's all over the place. There's like four people there: Mrs. Pierce, Colonel Pickering, Henry Higgins, and Audrey Hepburn.
Eliza Doolittle.
Eliza, and she's like, I want you to teach me, and he's like, no, that's ridiculous. And Colonel Pickering is like, you should do it, and Henry's like, you know what, you're right, I should do it. And Eliza Doolittle's like, no, never mind, you're weird, I don't want you, get out of my life. And then Mrs. Pierce is like, now hold on, Henry Higgins, you should really give this some thought. Like, what? And Colonel Pickering is like, yeah, I actually agree, maybe you should give this some thought. And Henry Higgins is like, no, I am gonna do it, and this is why. I'm gonna treat you really terribly. Actually, I'm gonna put you in the closet. I'm gonna put you in the back of the kitchen. That's where you're gonna sleep. And Eliza was like, no, like blah blah blah. And she's like, I'll pay you. And he's like, no, like one blah blah blah. Anyway, it goes on for maybe 15 minutes, and
That's no exaggeration.
it's just
Also,
nonsensical. I will say I like the movie, but too much.
yeah. I mean, it's a musical. Musicals are like, especially like a classic
Yeah.
musical.
It did strike me as like a play, like Les Mis kind of
Yeah.
feeling. But yeah, just that scene, I was like, if I was watching this as a kid, I don't know what would be happening.
And I don't remember that scene, but
Yeah.
also I can follow it. To me, it makes sense of just like
Oh yeah, I'm 23 years old. I can follow it, but I'm saying like for a kid, that's nonsense.
yeah, and that's fine. I don't remember it.
Yeah.
What I really didn't remember, like at the beginning, she's a lunatic, and I don't remember that at
Yeah.
all. She's nuts.
Before the first half of the movie, I didn't like anybody. Henry Higgins was awful to her. Colonel Pickering was fine, but he's like the one that kind of set up this whole bet and kind of was like playing with her fate, which isn't great.
But he had her best intention. Like every time he was like,
Yeah, he was playing with her future, which yeah, it turned out well, but it could have not been. And she's a lunatic. I will say, Mrs. Pierce the maid was my favorite character of the first half because she's the only adult in whatever room she's in. Everyone else is like a big dumb baby, but she's so patient, so nice, and is always level-headed, which is great.
yeah. And there were like some other fun things that I've forgotten. Like she's a flower girl.
And you love flowers. You're
Yeah.
literally wearing a dress with flowers all over it right now.
Yes.
Fake flowers. They're printed on.
Yeah, it's just a normal dress. So like that was just fun for me to be like, to, 20 years later, oh, I'm like a flower girl, whatever.
Yeah.
Like that was just kind of fun. And then I forgot about the music. The music is so good and has two of my favorite songs from any musical. and I completely forgot about them.
They're good.
Oh, the other thing I love was just the fashion.
You do
Like
love fashion.
fashion. The the clothes that they do. Oh, and obviously it's like really over the top, but it's so fun to see. The best part I think though is the hats.
The hats are.
Hats all around are just the best. Like her dad's hat.
They are literally over the top.
Ah, ha, ha.
Ha ha
Didn't
ha.
roll my eyes.
No, you didn't. I was looking.
I was concentrating real hard.
You're at 3 right now.
Yeah, her dad's hat funny. The maid's hat, but that's like very traditional.
Yeah.
And
I think my favorite scene, I don't mean to jump around, is, but I am. My favorite scene is at the horse race. I just think it's funny. Like
very
they're all,
cinematic.
yeah, they're all just standing there so still. All of these like extras, and they're singing, and they walk up to the fence post, and they have their binoculars, and they're looking straight forward. And these horses come running by. They don't turn their heads to watch. They just pull their binoculars down and go, "That was amazing. That speed was quick." Like,
But
just
that's the point.
yeah,
Just that like everyone's the same. Everyone's a robot. Yeah, and there was a lot. Again, like even my wedding dress was had like a very like 30s 40s vibe to it, and just watching their clothes and the dress that she wears to the final ball, I was like, yeah, if that could have been my wedding dress, it would have been like.
yeah.
I loved watching it, and yeah, there's just something nice about watching a nostalgic movie that holds on memories that I haven't seen it.
So the whole conceit, Henry Higgins' whole thing, I don't love. Like, I personally love languages. When I was learning Cantonese, it was a blast for me. Comparing them with other people, Cantonese is not a phonetic language. Like, it's not written down phonetically, so it changes so fast. Movies from the '90s, people would say nay and aw, and now they say lay and aw. So 30 years ago, people speak so differently, and I love that. It's so fluid, that language, but you always know what you're saying. English as well. Like, I grew up in Georgia, Oklahoma. When I left, people have always brought up the fact that I say Tuesday weird.
As he just demonstrated.
Yeah, and like that's like I find it fascinating that people say Tuesday and then what other people say.
Tuesday.
Yeah, and like I call shopping carts buggies. That's not really an accent thing, but
Yeah.
it's,
I say words funny.
yeah, it's so interesting to just like have that. So the idea that Henry Higgins is like English should be proper. It's very French. Like the French, literally, people have jobs to keep French the way it is. The English isn't that at all. Like it's absorbed so many other languages, and it should continue to evolve and grow.
But he has the good point of like, so the goal is that he can turn this like Cagney speaking.
Cockney.
She has a terrible accent. She sounds awful. She sounds poor. That sounds really mean, but like she's not going anywhere in life, and a huge hurdle for her is the way that she speaks.
Yeah.
So he says, I can teach you how to speak properly, and you could get a better job and stop living basically on the streets.
Yeah.
And so that's what he does. Like,
Mhm.
they teach her how to speak properly, and it changes her life. So,
Yeah. I'm not saying you shouldn't like learn a language better. Like expand your vocabulary, make sure people can understand you, and like enunciate. But your accent is your own, and like
well, also this is set
yeah,
long ago.
at the time, like yeah, that of course is a very nice thing to do, but it would not fly these days. That's all I have to say. Is I like that languages are different, and I don't think streamlining a language is actually helpful. I think it hurts.
This movie has an intermission.
Yeah.
And I just remember when that came on when I was little, being like, Mom, what is this? Why is this happening? Da 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 da. And so now it's just funny to be like, oh yeah, look, an intermission.
I wish movies had intermissions. I really do. I don't ever eat or drink anything when I go to the theater because I'm afraid I'm going to have to use the restroom. It depends. Like if it's a 90-minute movie, I'll get like a drink.
It's like I'm pretty sure every movie we've been to.
If it's Endgame, which is 3 hours, I didn't get anything, and I would have loved a drink. I was pretty thirsty near the end. So yeah, I would love an intermission just to so that we could eat and we could drink and then we could go to the bathroom and come back. That'd be so nice. Or just to stand up and stretch your legs. Intermissions are underrated and they should be brought back.
Yeah. Well, it's nice too. Like if you go to like a musical, they always have an intermission. So
yeah.
the other thing that I just remembered was there's a phrase that's she has to say, which is the rain in Spain stays mainly in the plains.
Yeah.
And I thought plane was plane. And I always thought that was weird. Like the rain in Spain stays mainly in the plane.
In an airplane.
Yeah. It's like that doesn't make sense. And then we always watch things with subtitles. And I saw that it was plain. I was like, that makes so much more sense.
Yeah.
And I was 25 years old before I realized.
It's funny those things that you hold on to from your misunderstandings from childhood.
Yeah.
It's good. And then everybody knows she pulls it off. She fools a man that knows 32 languages and is a language master.
Yeah. He was a student of Higgins.
Yeah. And yeah, just like good happy ending for her. All the guys are like, we did it, not her. We men, we're the best. Especially Henry Higgins. He did it all by himself. She gets hurt. And then there's 30, 40 minutes of back and forth. Like, Freddie shows up at one point, writing her 2 to 3 letters a day and just standing outside her house every night.
Stalker.
Yeah, real weird. Does not fly. And, like, she met him one time.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
I will say, I do appreciate that it's not like a love story.
Isn't it?
No?
I thought at the end they do love each other.
They're gonna, like, live with each other, but it's totally...
Oh, I didn't get that. I thought it was romantic. Okay. I like that.
I'm pretty sure. I'm gonna look it up now, but I'm pretty sure.
Okay. So the scene, or the song that I thought was entirely unnecessary and went for way too long was the song with Eliza Doolittle's dad. And I like that Henry Higgins like offhandedly says, "Oh, you should be a moral professor," and then a moral professor like takes him up on that, and he becomes really rich. Like that's funny. That's a fun little twist, and I like their conversation. But then it goes into like I don't know, a 7-8 minute song where he, even though he's become a better person, he's still gonna go drink and like spend time with women that are not his bride. I don't know. I just thought it was weird and very long and did not like.
Here's what it says on the internet.
Okay.
It's a quick search on the internet, so take it as it is. But Eliza does not marry Higgins. Henry Higgins did remain in Eliza Doolittle's life, but Shaw, I don't know who Shaw is, was insistent on the fact that they were no match romantically, that they remained purely friends who saw each other as sparring partners in wit and cleverness.
Oh, okay. I do like that a lot then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did not buy them as romantic partners,
No.
so I'm glad that.
Well, it even says, like...
Yeah, it clearly did. Okay, that makes me like the movie a little bit more. So she's gonna be, instead of him like, oh, what do they keep referring to themselves as? Like confirmed bachelors. So she'll be a confirmed bachelorette. Is this a book?
Yeah.
Oh, from whom? Jane Austen?
No.
That's my go-to English 1800s author.
It was based on Pygmalion, a play by George Bernard Shaw, which opened 100 years ago in New York and London.
Oh, was it
So-
ever in New York in the movie?
So it didn't get a spin-off. That was the spin-off.
Yeah, okay. It did come out in the, 40s or so? This movie?
1964.
Oh, 64. Okay.
It definitely would have been black and white.
Oh, yeah. What am I talking about? What am I doing?
But
Anyway,
it's set to be like...
yeah, like 1800s.
Yeah.
Late 1800s. Anyway, so it's based off a play that was written a long time ago, and it came out in the 1960s. So I don't think it's sexist, but it's not, woke.
Didn't age well.
Yeah. So keep that in mind, but really, it's fine.
Yeah, just
It's
a
of the
classic
time.
movie.
Yeah, it's
like,
of the time.
Get over it.
I liked it.
I'm glad you liked it.
I really didn't like it for a long time. I will say it was a struggle to get through, and it was long. but I turned around on it.
Yeah. I will say the first bit is hard just
Yeah.
because she's so obnoxious. Like, everyone's so obnoxious.
Everyone is the worst. But then
it gets better.
Yeah. That's growth. And that's what you want in a story.
Yeah.
So, yeah. My Fair Lady. Thank you for showing it to me. And I think you said you wanted to show it to me in response to Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah. Those are the shows. Those are the movies that we grew up on. Dumb and Dumber, My Fair Lady.
Very similar.
Yes.
All right.
And I bet you none of your family has seen My Fair Lady, and I guarantee none of my family has seen Dumb and Dumber.
My parents just set up a big old theater room in their new house, which they're very, very excited about.
Yeah.
All right. Exciting stuff. Next week is my week. I'm not sure when I'm going to put out all the D&D stuff. I think I want to finish it. I think I want to do the whole 7 sessions and then edit them down, make them fun, make them punchy, and then put those out. That's my current plan, but maybe this second session will be really interesting and I'll put it out early. All right, as a final reminder, again, please consider subscribing on whatever you're watching. Please leave a comment. Please like the video. Please leave a 5-star review. Anything you can do to help us, and like the best thing by far you can do is to tell a friend. Speaking of friend, before we sign off, we have one visiting us this week, so I think we're gonna do our first guest. Yep.
And she is not a movie person, so.
Let me tell you this. She's like one of Brooke's good friends, and she hasn't listened to any of our episodes of the podcast because she hasn't seen anything that we've been talking about, which is fine. Today, Brooke was on the phone with her because she was coming up, and she had lost her glasses. I said, "Oh, she's quoted Scooby-Doo without knowing." I said, "Oh, you're like Velma," and she said, "What?" I said, "From Scooby-Doo," and she said, "I've never seen Scooby-Doo."
And that was the last straw for Sean.
So I just thought she wasn't a movie person. Turns out she might not be a person at all. But I'm just kidding. She's probably gonna listen to this. We're very excited for it and can't wait for it. Okay.
Till next time.
Yep. Thank you so much for listening, and goodbye.
Deuces.
Hi, this is Sean, dropping in later at the end of the episode. We tested out a new microphone, and it has a bit of a weird lilt to it, so it sounds a lot like Brooke has a lisp. She does not. Also wanted to update everybody that the final counter of eye rolls was 4. She controlled herself at the end there. All right, thank you again, and goodbye.